Are you ready to stop searching outside yourself and deepen the connection that matters the most?
Welcome to the Sacred Exchange podcast. We are your hosts, John and Catherine Graham.
After years of navigating our own spiritual paths, we have learned that true transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens in the honest and vulnerable moments when we are willing to journey within with a curious mind and heart.
Every week, we invite you to journey with us as we share our spiritual ahas, our raw truth, and deepen our understanding of the human experience.
This is a space of vulnerability and healing, where souls meet, hearts transform, and love leads the way. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sacred Exchange, where today we're going to be talking about choosing love in all situations.
Yes, choosing love in all situations. And sometimes it is very difficult to choose love, especially when it's something that you're facing that's very personal, or something that is maybe triggers an old wound or whatnot, which again is personal, but yes.
Well, and I think you just named exactly why we don't choose love, right?
Yeah.
We've got an old wound that's come up, and that old wound is being triggered, and it's like, this is how I need to respond to the situation, where love comes from like another angle, right? And most of us haven't been raised in a love consciousness. Mm-hmm. We haven't been taught to always do the most loving thing. It's often been like, this is how we react to these situations. And to react is to redo the situation that's kind of coming into your field.
Yeah.
And so unless it's love coming in, then we go, I don't need to choose love because they're not, and we had so many opportunities that showed up this week where we were naturally stepping into like a choosing love vibration, which was a big celebration moment for me, and I think for yourself as well, where there was a lot of options that we could see, but we were naturally choosing a more loving option.
Yeah, I think that piece becomes easier the more personal work that you do, right?
Yeah,
and
I agree.
The more reflection that you have, the more work you do on yourself and your wounds and all that stuff, it becomes easier to look at. We talked about the observer last week, and this is kind of the same deal. Is you're observing these situations that are coming up, but you're definitely approaching it from a different place than you would have in the past.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because there was that opportunity to kind of pause and to ask myself, what is the most loving way I can respond to this? And there were a few times where I could hear old wounded parts of me that were going, wait a second, what we need to say is this. And it's like, that's not a very loving thing to say right now. And what was interesting, I think, for myself was how easily resolved each situation was when I approached it from a state of love. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
where it was
I
like
agree.
These little fires that could have come up were just like, oh, and we're just going to put that fire out with a dose of love. It's that simple.
Yeah, it really just becomes another event, right?
Yeah.
You're showing it love is one thing, or responding with love is one thing, but it really is just, okay, this is just happening. I don't have to react the way I did before because I see differently now.
Yeah.
So love is available. Love is the only choice and the only approach because you don't see it any differently.
Yeah.
Or you see it differently than you did once upon a time.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when you say love is the only choice, because many people, and myself included and yourself included, as I've witnessed you, we think there's like 1,000 options besides love that we would rather choose for any situation.
Yep.
We go into defense, we go into anger, we go into sadness, we go into reaction, whatever. And the only choice out of all of that is actually a real choice is love. Because everything else is of the ego, which means it's a false identity. right?
Agreed.
And so it's like amazing to me how often I have chosen a false identity instead of love. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I think the best metaphor I've heard is that we treat our ego with the same reality as what, like, just imagine if you fell asleep and you had a dream. I had a weird dream last night. And if I woke up and I said, that dream is more real than the life I'm living today, that is how we treat the ego, right? Where when you can enter into a state of love, it's like that is our actual natural way of being. Right. And for us right now, it's like, wow, look at this newness. Like we're in this state of love and it just feels great and it's amazing. And we've got, you know, all these other people or other experiences that can look at us choosing love and going, that's not the right way. Right. And they're still arguing for that dream that they had last night to be the reality instead of being able to just go, right, this is actually more real for us right now than what a dream is. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, and you know, like again, I go back to it's a practice.
Yeah.
Like I know that there's times that I haven't responded from a love perspective, and I know there's times that I still will, but I will continue to like. You said a key point there is have that moment, and you can choose how you want to respond to that, right?
Yeah.
To whatever the situation is. And some things are more difficult and some things are more easy. And, you know, the more you're faced with different situations and you can look at how you used to respond and change those responses to now,
Yeah.
To me is the most important thing.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not overly critical or try not to be overcritical whether I am responding the right way. But as long as I can see that there's growth, that I used to respond in a certain way, and now I'm approaching it from a different way. I think that's...
Yeah, it's a very grounded approach to it. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I don't feel like I'm ever trying to do it for the right, like, let me make sure I'm responding in the right way. Because I do believe however we respond is exactly how we're supposed to be responding in that moment for whatever reason. Yeah. And there's always new awareness that can come through. If we, you know, have that opportunity to respond with anger and respond with love, and we don't even remember that we have that opportunity to choose, and we automatically go into anger, there's something more that's coming out of that, right? There's new awarenesses that can come out of that. And to me, it's always an opportunity to see where I still have wounded parts of me.
Yeah. I don't know. I go into this little breakdown when I'm faced with these situations where it's like, okay, once upon a time I would choose fear, or I would react from a place of anger, or I would act from a place of confusion, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, time kind of slows down and it's like, okay, here's your choices. Which one are you going to choose? And then you start looking at it and go, okay, you did this before and this is how this all played out. So you have the opportunity here. Choose, you know how this played out when you chose this way and you responded this way. How will we change things a little bit? And let's see how this goes.
Absolutely. And isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
To be like, oh, I wonder if I don't choose anger this time, if I choose fear instead.
Yeah.
You know, what different experience will I have from this? And if I don't choose fear and I decide to choose love, what difference can I experience from this? And that to me is exciting. Because it's like, I feel like I am an expert on anger. I'm an expert on grief. I'm an expert on fear. I can see how many times I've chosen those in my life. And it's interesting because a lot of us will say that we feel stuck. We feel like we're not moving forward. And since I've started exercising myself outside of anger and fear and grief and whatever, I haven't felt stuck again since.
It's very freeing, right? Like,
it absolutely is.
When you're faced with, again, whatever scenario it is, and you can surrender that decision, basically, is what you're doing, is going, okay, you know what, I trust there is a plan, there is whatever. I don't need to get upset about this. I don't need to question whether this is right, wrong, or indifferent. It just is what it is at this moment in time.
Yeah.
And it does. It is very freeing. there's no stress, there's no anger, there's no mad, there's sad, nothing. It just,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
let's go.
And what I find interesting too is when I choose love and I respond with love, I'm not doing like a repeating or replaying
Yes.
of the situation
Yeah.
over and over again in my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, I know I should have done this, or they should have said this, or whatever. It's like I can completely accept the moment for what it was,
Yeah.
and then I just move forward. Right?
Yep.
Where when I have responded with anger and I can feel that kind of tension, and then it's like it just keeps playing on and playing
Well, and then
on.
you start judging yourself for responding with anger and
Yeah.
did I do this right? Did I do that? Should I, whatever, blah, 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 the story. And then this starts running rampant.
Yeah.
She got all of these different stories that are playing out where it's really that simple. It's just to, okay,
Yeah.
what is this going to look like?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think when we do choose anger, say, in a moment, or we choose fear in a moment, and then our mind starts to do this remuneration and just like playing it out over and over again, I think that is like another invitation for us to respond to that
Agreed.
with love. Right?
Yeah.
Where we're not always going to get it right, but to remind ourselves that, hey, we're just learning.
Yeah.
Right? We're brand new to this. We're just learning. And this is an opportunity for us to pour that love on ourselves and maybe even reflect on, why did I respond to that? What
Yeah.
part of me is being triggered by this situation? But also, can I give myself the love that I need right now because of what this situation is, what this interaction with this other person was all about, or what this experience was, or whatever. That there's always ways to just bring it back to
Yep.
love.
And I think the more we do that, I think it's almost reactory. So when I feel, for me anyways, when I get angry or something now, it is more of an old reaction that I've yet to like soften.
Yeah.
Where it's like, and it's fast because it's like, okay, and then after I'm like, okay, why am I getting angry about this?
Yeah.
So I know that continuing to do the work, that piece will soften and that reaction will change. But it's more of, it's not calculated as it used to be. I would react in a way that, I'm going to, whatever, say this and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Now it's more of like, that came from me and now I didn't mean to react that way, but now I've reacted that way. I can see this is an old pattern or an old story.
Yeah.
And I think the more we just continue to have this approach where you're meeting things with love, all of those eventually will assimilate to that pattern, will assimilate to that response.
Absolutely.
But it is just interesting to see how these things come up.
Absolutely. I've had experience this week where I've been talking to you about how aware I've become of this part of me that is like so fear-based and so full of worry. And it's like, it does not matter what the situation is. This part of me shows up with like a bloody list of like, these are the 1,000 ways you could die by doing this experience. And it's never right. I'm still here. But I can just see how powerful that has played out in my life, where it's always gotten me to choose fear instead of love, just for my own experience.
Well, fear equals death, and then fear equals death and this, and this, and this.
Yeah, it's always like complete abandonment and complete death, right? And I think this is true for all of us when it comes to fear, and we're trying to expand ourselves or step into something new. The fear voice always comes in.
Oh, I would agree. I remember when we first started doing our podcast and how afraid I was just to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I do it quite often at work and whatnot, but this is a little different. It's,
a little personal.
And I don't know, I got to a point where it was like, no, you know what? I care who hears this, and I care who hears the message. I want everybody to hear the message, and everybody will in due time, or if they need to, or if they whatever.
It's out of your hands.
But given the fact that I know we've had some pretty impactful discussions, and I want to share that with people, and I want people to see that part of me as well.
Yeah.
So, But I can remember being so afraid of, sharing this or sharing that, or people seeing me in a different light. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why are we afraid of these things? Because we've been told that if you do this, this is what'll happen by somebody else that had a different experience. Like, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you start breaking it down where all these fear parts come from, because we're not really like facing all of these things, right? We're basing it off somebody else's opinion of a situation.
Well, and sometimes we're just basing it off of the fear in us said this is what's going to happen, right? And it's interesting because I've had to face, I'd say, a lot of those fears in the past year. I know you're talking about coming on the podcast. Me speaking is not a very fear-based thing at this point in time, but I've had a lot of fear of rejection from people that I had to face that this year, and I got completely rejected, which we could go, that's an awful thing. But what it helped me to recognize was that I am still whole despite their rejection, right? And I go back to, we used to listen to Kyle Cease a lot, and he used to say, so if they don't like you, oh well, at least now you know.
And that's kind of the way I see it. It is, I'm as much as I'm doing this I'm doing this for me as well.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm not looking for whether you're accepting me or not. That's fine. If you don't, then change channel. I mean, it's that
well,
easy.
Exactly. And isn't it so interesting that we really think that we are that important, right? That if someone else was to listen in, or someone else was to watch, or they were to judge us or whatever, that we think that it is going to be such a disgrace for them to have us pop up on their Facebook feed or whatever, when they could just scroll on by. Do you know what I mean? If they don't like it, that's what we do. We just scroll on by. And yet, again, the fear, it goes into the people who have been publicly humiliated.
Yeah.
The people who have been, shot down or whatever for speaking their truth and stuff. And it's a societal thing, right? That we've been programmed to choose the fear for fear of what has happened to so many others. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen to you or to me or to anybody, really.
Yeah, and I think, people that are shot down, or people that are not accepted or whatever, if that ends you or that stops you from pursuing the things that you want to pursue, doing a podcast or whatever that may be, are you really in your truth? If that's going to be if one person makes a comment that, you guys are terrible, blah, 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 that's not going to stop me from speaking.
Yeah.
But if that stops anybody from speaking, then was it really your truth you were speaking, or are you just doing a performance?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because if you really believe in the message that you're talking about, you're going to speak it no matter what. You don't have, I'm not saying you don't care about what other people think, but you're so deep in your conviction of the words coming out of your mouth that it doesn't matter. You're allowed to have your opinion. You don't have to watch.
Yeah.
I don't have to look at your comment either.
Yeah.
So,
well, and see, I would say that this is a gift of love that you've given to me, is that you've always been completely confident, or you've shown yourself as being completely confident of, this is who I am, and this is what I do, and this is what I think, and I'm not apologizing for it. And I'd say my experience as a woman, or perhaps it's not because I'm a woman and you're a man or whatever, I'm not 100% sure, but because I grew up believing I was here to please everybody else, to receive rejection from someone else for what is like my gift or whatever, it did many, many times make me go collapse in on myself and to question, do I keep doing this because this doesn't make others happy, right? And so I really had to look at a lot of my people pleaser kind of things. And again, it comes back to that rejection piece, to learn how to be completely okay with their rejection and to not stop my truth. Because I've stopped my truth so many times trying to make sure everybody else was comfortable with me. So
yeah, but then when you look at it from now perspective, right? And you look at it from a loving perspective and go, okay, this is one person.
Yeah. Oh, it's
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot that's going on there, and does it really matter?
Yeah, if I could speak to a younger version of me back when I was a younger person with the wisdom that I have now, I would have lived my life completely differently. Right? Where and I'm glad I'm at where I'm at now. I'm glad that I have the wisdom now that I do have. But if I could go back to 13-year-old me and be like, sing louder.
Yeah.
You know, it pisses them off, sing louder. They don't like what you're saying, keep saying it because you're speaking the truth.
Yeah.
Like, I would give her the confidence that she absolutely needed, but she just wanted to belong.
And it's amazing, right? So when you think about that, as you're saying that, I'm sitting here thinking, you know, here's this love component that you're sharing with the world, and your ego is being attacked, which is shutting you down.
Yeah.
Right. And our podcast today is, you know, approaching situations with love.
Yeah.
And just, man, maybe that is the message about approaching the situation with love, is to not let people put out your fire. And it's not letting people, because you're doing it to yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
That's just it.
You're letting their statements or whatever attach to your ego, which is saying you're not good enough, which is shutting you down.
Yes, yes. So then what's happening is you've got this kind of double ego standard. So you've got these people who are in their woundedness, because to me, only wounded people will reject someone else for their truth. Only wounded people will be like, oh, you can't do that gift that you have or whatever, right? They'll shut that down because they're terrified that someone else is standing in their light. And so if they're speaking from their ego and then I receive it from my ego and I go, I need to shut down completely to make these egos happy, well, then we've just allowed egos to be the kind of driving force. Yeah. Whereas now, in that choosing love is like, I see your ego, and I'm actually just going to react from my loving place.
I'm just going to do it more.
Yes.
And I remember having like a little bit of a rebellious piece like that once upon a time, and maybe still do a little bit.
I'd say you absolutely do.
It's like, oh, you don't like that? I'm going to do this more. I'm going to do this the best that I can.
Yeah.
And it's okay that you don't like it.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I'm going to continue on. You're not going to stop me from doing what I'm going to do or expressing the way I'm going to express.
Yeah. Well, and I think for myself at this point, it's like accepting my inner rebellion as being, I'm going to rebel against my ego as often as I can, right? This loving part of me, it is going to choose love. When you think I should choose anger or you think I should choose attack, I'm just going to choose love. That's my rebellion, right? I'm going to follow whatever this calling is in my heart, despite all of the voices inside of me saying this is too wrong or not the right path or whatever. I'm just going to keep on following that. And that's the rebellion.
Yeah, and I'm just also thinking about, you know, when I met with somebody that maybe we don't see eye to eye, or maybe it's somebody that doesn't like me.
Okay.
And I know that there's been times in the past where I'm like, not because I need their approval, almost because I want to, I don't know, prove them wrong. Maybe not even prove them wrong, but I'll get close to you, or I'm going to make you my best friend. You don't like me at all.
You
know,
I'll make you like me.
You know,
I'll show you that I'm lovable.
Well, it's not even that. It's just why. Maybe that there's more because I'm very, you know, want to know why, and maybe that's the case. Is that I don't care if you like me or not, but I kind of want to know why. But I'm, you know, more of approaching that kind of situation from a love, and I never thought of it that way, where it's like. Just because you don't like me, that's not my problem. That's your problem. But I want to know why it's your problem.
Yeah.
It's just something I'd never considered
until right now. Yeah. I can see how that's playing out.
I don't avidly search out people that don't like me or look for confrontation or anything like that. But when it comes up, it's like, okay, but why?
Like, what is it that I carry that you don't accept or whatever?
Yeah, and I've seen it play out. It's interesting sometimes because I've seen it play where people get very uncomfortable. It's like, I know you don't like me, but I'm going to be right here beside you. It just is. It is what it is.
It's a little bit of a mischievous part of you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, you start looking at these things that you've done in the past, and like approaching it from today, and looking at going like I just did, right, in real time. Going, oh, love was there the whole time. It's just you need to be the one to choose and to see that it's there.
Yeah. Well, and to even experience it as love,
Yeah.
too, right? Like, I think sometimes we can be so stuck in what our experience is that even when love is showing up around us, we refuse to see it, right? We only point out the things that reaffirm the whatever shit we're feeling inside of our body at that time, and it allows us to go into language like, see, you always do this, or you never do this, or whatever. And we have to be willing to open our eyes to love as well, to experience life as though it's loving us completely. And that was something else I had to train myself to do, was to experience life as though it was loving me completely. Right? Because I think a lot of us, we experience life as though it's against us, or as though it's trying to harm us or to limit us or whatever. And again, I go back to like this whole idea of people pleasing. Even as I experienced life, it was like I was trying to please life so that it would treat me better, instead of recognizing that I just needed to experience life better, to be in a state of gratitude, to find the good that was happening throughout everything.
Yeah, and I think when you remove, like when you look at experiences in life and just everybody in general, and you start removing the expectations and the personal piece, I think those two things are a really big key into responding from love.
Yeah.
Because those two things like are very, like when you start taking things personal, it feeds that ego, right? It juices your ego like no tomorrow. You're like, no, see, and this is why, 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 and then all of a sudden you start building this profile of like whatever.
I know, you're like the crazy guy in the basement with all the posters up and the lines connecting lines.
But if you remove that from the story, okay, now there's a piece missing. You don't really know how to feel when you start looking at it from that perspective, right?
Yeah.
When you take that personal piece away, it's like, now what?
Yeah.
And when you take that expectation away, when you approach a situation without those two things, you're kind of like, okay, so I'm just here.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's freeing, and then I think that allows for love to be able to come through.
Yeah.
And you respond in those ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think too, like, realizing that we can each be an instrument of love, right? We can meet any situation as love. And there's a lot of people that will say, you know, there's no love left in the world, or I can't see love anywhere, or whatever. And if that's your experience where you're like, I'm just seeing like awful people and whatever, I invite you to ask, how can I be the love that I want to see in the world? It goes back to Gandhi's quote, be the change you wish to see in the world. Yeah. But how can I be more love? How can I be more loving? And actually, something that came up for me this week as I was reading A Course in Miracles was saying, you know, going into your idea of like everything has love in it. It's just whether or not we're seeing it that way. It was saying, you know, if someone's coming to you and they're speaking to you from an ego place, and you recognize it's an ego place, you don't want to tell them that they're correct, but you also don't want to tell them that they're wrong, because the moment they hear they're wrong, that ego is going to get more defensive, right? Yeah. But you try and listen for what is the love or the truth that they're actually speaking that is actually true, that you can love on them for that truth, right?
Yeah. Because
the more a person experiences love for the truth in what their words are, the more they can actually step into that vision of love that they are for themselves. So going back to like me not singing when I was a kid, because other people are going, we don't like you singing, so stop singing or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, they don't like my voice, and I just want to sing and whatever. The truth in that is there is a gift in your voice, right? So just have someone reflect to me, there is a gift in your voice, and it's triggering something in them because they need to remember there's a gift in their voices too. Well, isn't that a totally different story?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so to help remind people when we're seeing them, acting from their ego or whatever, like there is a truth that everybody is speaking from their ego, but it's often like an upside down reflection of what the truth is. Right? So they might go, I deserve a better relationship, or I deserve a better husband. And it's like, that's absolutely true. You do deserve a perfect life partner. And also, how can you become the perfect life partner? Right? You deserve to be ultimately loved. How can you ultimately love yourself?
Yeah.
So it's agreeing with the truth, but not agreeing with the non-truth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's an alternate, right? It is like you deserve this perfect whatever.
Yeah.
And we're all perfect, but you deserve whatever this is.
Yeah.
And really, yeah, I agree that it's best to not try to correct people and go, no, you should be doing this way or you should be doing it that way, and just offer the alternate. Well, maybe this is the perfect partner. You just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Maybe it is the perfect partner and you need to just be able to see that.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, it's something that I realize that I need to become more aware of in my conversations with people, because I can often easily see where ego is playing out, where patterns are playing out, where language is like creating what their reality is and stuff. And so there's a correcting part of me that wants to be like, did you know if you just switch this word out with this word, like it's a game changer,
Yeah.
And I know it gets frustrating for people when I'm doing that. And I don't want to hide that gift, because I know it's a powerful gift that I carry. I just need to switch my language on it, which is something else I was able to do a few times this week, was shifting my language on the way I was responding to people, which actually got me like a heart emoji from someone that typically would never send a heart emoji.
And we talked about this too, right? It's kind of responding from that right frequency or the right resonance for that audience, where it's like, okay, this person's upset and they're coming from their ego, and you can hear it, and you don't have to directly respond but you can message it, so that it comes off that way. So you're on that same plane. So the message is carried through and received with love.
Well, it's really asking what is it that the ego needs to hear right now? What truth does the ego need to remember within itself, or does it need to transcend into?
Well, I kind of look at it this way: is you're kind of juicing the ego to bypass it. So you're going, okay, I'm going to respond this way. Ego gets its part, so you can move ego out of the way, and then you can go directly to the heart, right? Where it's like, okay, I gave you your piece, and the ego softens, and then boom, you get hit with that love bomb, and away you go.
Yeah. I like the moving pieces
that
you've got there, Or I'm kind of like, oh, ego, come out. It's okay. What is it that you're most upset about right now? And I did this with you actually this week, because you had some fear coming up around some anger that you were experiencing. And it was like, well, what are you most afraid of? And then you shared that with me, and it was like, okay, so if that happens, this is what we're going to do. This is the container we'll hold for your fear and for your anger and whatever. And it's like, oh, okay, now I don't need to be afraid, and I also don't need to be angry. I've got a container where it can come out. So I think the ego needs to know, like, it's okay that, because again, it's never about abolishing the ego or annihilating the ego. It's going, what is it that the ego actually needs in this? And in that, there is always truth, right? You are loved. That is absolutely true, straight across the board. It's true for the ego, and it's also true for the soul.
Right, but the ego is not wanting to hear that sometimes, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That's why I'm like, you got to give the ego, that's part of that whole aligning that frequency. It's like, you have to give the ego its piece, and the divinity it's peace, and you get on that same wave
Yeah.
to be able to contact or communicate with that person.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you have one's this way and one's this way, and you just kind of, you have to feed one, and then you can really talk to the other one, or you can feed one and talk to the other.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just go back to that video that I shared with you, I think, yesterday, about the alcoholic that was standing outside of the liquor store, and he was approached by the cops because he had been upsetting some people that were going into the liquor store or whatever. And he was 88 days sober, but he was really struggling with his addiction that day. And the cop talked to him, and the cop was also, I believe, 11 years sober. So he understood about like the way the AA program works and the 12 steps and whatever. And he was able to talk this man kind of off the ledge that he was on, and he ended up getting him to an AA meeting. But one of the most profound things that I heard in that video, and I guess it's something that's in AA meetings, is let us love you until you're able to love yourself, or we will love you until you're able to love yourself. And I think that's how we need to approach all egos in all situations, is let me love you until you're able to love yourself. And at that point, I'm still going to love you, but you're not going to need the love because you've already got this love for yourself. And I just thought that was really profound.
Yeah, I agree. I use a similar analogy. It's a little different wording, but it's a football thing. You run the same play until you get it right, and it's no different.
Yeah.
I mean, the terminology is a little bit different, but I mean, underneath that, it is be consistent and persistent about that path.
Yeah, I see it like when you put it like that, and just conjoining the two. Like when an animal has been severely abused, and they're like huddled up in the corner. And this is how we can approach the ego sometimes, is seeing that wounded ego over in the corner that's like snapping at anybody who gets close. And sometimes it is just about sitting there and showing them, like, I'm safe. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to touch you. I'll talk to you maybe, but I'm just here.
Yeah.
And eventually that animal, and sometimes I say eventually, but sometimes it's 2 or 3 weeks, right? So I think us as humans, we get so frustrated. Like I sat with them for an hour and they were still in the exact same spot.
Well, and we do this, but we approach each other the same way we approach the next person, right? We don't personalize it, or we very rarely do we. We go, oh, so-and-so went through this situation. I'm going to respond to you the same way I responded to them, even though you're a totally different person than the way they are.
Yeah.
So we really need to sync up with that person, like really resonate with them and personalize it. Not, so-and-so got a divorce and this is how I dealt with them or how I talked to them, so that's how I'm going to talk to you, and that's how... You what are we doing?
No, fair enough. I hear what you're saying, and yet, I've never stepped into an AA meeting. I've never needed to at this point in time in my life. But from my understanding, they have the 12 steps, and they do the exact same approach for every single person. So I think there is validity in consistency, but I totally understand what you're saying, where you have to be able to resonate with someone on their level, use language that they understand.
And I think that's kind of going back to that video, was they could understand each other at the same level. Because there was a big distance between the two originally, right? Oh, you're a police officer, you're a recovering alcoholic, and when the thing came up that the police officer was a recovering alcoholic as well, all of a sudden there's that
because right before that the man had been like, fine, arrest me, take me away, just arrest me.
And that's what I'm saying, we try to cookie cut stuff in society where we need to personalize it exactly like that situation, exactly like the care that would go into taking care of an animal that's been abused, is you're personalizing that care to that person. Well, and I think that's one thing I know. Just watching you in your business, I know that's what you do, and I know that's why your clients love you so much, because you do personalize that care. You're not just cookie cutting this out and going, okay, next.
Yeah.
You care.
Yeah.
and it shows.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. I think too, like, I think we as society, we often think that just because someone is an adult walking around, that they're just an adult, right? And most adults that are out there are wounded little children in adult bodies.
We all are.
Right? We need to approach each person the same way we do the abused animal in the corner, right? And to not take any offense to any of their reactions. And it's so interesting because it's like if a dog was to snap at me and I see that it's been abused, and that's the difference, is I can see that it's been abused.
Yeah.
I'm like, I understand. You can't trust people. But why can't we do that for a person who's walking down the street and maybe they're snapping at people, or the angry Karen in the grocery store or whatever? What have you had to go through to become this person who's lashing out at everybody else? And we look at it and we go, that's a bitch, that's an asshole, whatever.
Well, we take it personal, right?
And we go, I got to stay away from that person. Yeah. They're toxic, they're blah, 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 whatever. And I get that. We do need to protect ourselves to a certain extent. But can we start approaching them all like wounded animals or wounded people? I mean, ultimately that's what they are, but we don't necessarily exercise that.
No.
And that's me having my big dream for the world, is that we just approach people with love, with understanding.
Yeah, approach people, where they're at. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's got, something.
Yeah.
And it's not for us to make it about us. You know what I mean? So, like you're saying, we look at this person that's having this, and all of a sudden I'm afraid for my safety. I've personalized it.
Mm. Yeah.
This person is they could be having the, breakdown of their whole life or whatever's going on.
Yeah.
And I've made it about me.
Yeah.
Instead of going, wow, like, what can I do here?
Yeah. But I mean,
or even just letting them, okay, do what you need, get it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think that's where we become so self-serving, and I've been completely self-serving in the past, right? It is that selfishness. It is that self-centeredness, and taking everything as being a personal kind of reflection of who we are. And in a way it is, right? In a way that we have these things that show up in our reality so that we can look at ourselves, so that we can give ourselves love, but also so we can give other people love. Yeah. But if we're always pushing those people away and we're going, I can't love you because of your action, your word, your whatever, what we're actually doing is pushing parts of ourselves away, because they're all showing up as a reflection of us. And the more people we're cutting out and cutting off relationships and whatever else, the more we're actually cutting ourselves off from our own source.
Well, you're really narrowing that spectrum, right? Like, yeah. You're going from a love that was like this to, oh, no, not only these people, only these people, only these people, only these people. And you're narrowing that band. Yeah. Which has, there's other things that go along with that. And when you start narrowing that, there's a lot of other things that you're losing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not seeing the whole picture.
Yeah. And yet, I can say, there was a time where I found value in cutting off from people that I believed were toxic, and for putting up strong boundaries. And it was really my first step into what I would consider to be self-love, right? But self-love, it came with a lot of harshness. And I didn't know how to be loving towards others while loving myself. And so I put in these big boundaries to go, I need to be safe. But I wasn't looking at...
Put up the walls.
Yeah. What's interesting is what I was doing was actually stepping so much more into my human experience instead of my divinity, right? But it felt empowering.
Yeah.
So it served a purpose in that I could cut people out. I could tell people, you don't get to treat me like that. I get to have more power in my life. And so I can see all of those, again, very good things, but also love was the missing piece. Right? Because when love is available, and when I'm connected to the divine and I'm connected to my loving truth and stuff, I'm actually safe with all people. Nobody can attack me.
Yeah.
Right? And can they attack the human form? They could, but my human form is not who I am.
Yeah.
right? I am the essence that is within. And again, I sometimes have a hard time remembering that, where it's like, well, no, that hurt my physical body, thank you very much, or that hurt my personality or whatever. But to remember, I am a divine being. I am love. No one can take that away from me. So why do I need to protect myself from anybody?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And why would I want to teach anybody that they need to protect themselves from other human beings? Like, we walk around calling people evil all the time, right? And there's divinity within each and every one of us. And I do believe for some of us that divinity is buried so fucking deep inside.
Yeah.
Right? That life has just been a series of really, really dark events and whatever. And they're completely disconnected, which I guess is where we could get that idea of the word evil. But I don't believe anyone is just purely evil.
No.
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, again, I've said it before, you know, you can find love in all of, and everything and anything, even the worst people, and you just need to look deep, and you got to look, from face value. Some things, some people don't look like they have love in them or divinity in them, but you just got to keep looking and you'll find it.
Well, and I mean, if you're finding someone that you're like, you know, they don't have love in them. Yeah.
Fill them up.
Yes, maybe they just need to be filled up with love.
Yeah.
You know, and the first couple of tastes that they get of the love, they might be like, it's disgusting. I've never tried this before.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's uncomfortable. But eventually, it starts to taste better. It starts to feel better. It starts to feel more comfortable for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is, again, I want to go back to, you know, and I've said this about a number of different things. It's a practice, and you're not always going to get it right, but the more you respond from a loving perspective and just take that moment to kind of break down, as we've discussed here, you'll start to see these changes. And yes, you're not always going to get it right, but as you practice and you continue to practice, you're going to get it right more and more.
Yeah.
And it's going to feel better and better. And all these stress and that are going to start to dissipate because it's not worth it. It's not available. That's why I see it now. It's like some of these things in some of these situations, that anger is just not available anymore. It's just not there.
Yeah.
I don't want to put my energy there, so it's not going to go there. It just doesn't. I don't have to try to not be angry. I just don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it makes me laugh because a few months ago, our youngest, he snuck out of the house in the middle of the night, and he's got Life 360 on his phone. So we were able to see when he left the house, when he got home from being out in the middle of the night. And I mean, he was 12 or no, just turned 13. And it was like, okay, we need to, you know, set some boundaries here, and there needs to be some sort of discipline or whatever. And I had waited for you to get home from work for us to be able to sit down and talk to him about this. And we were both like, okay, so the proper parenting thing to do is to be angry about this.
Yeah.
But I'm not actually feeling angry. He's
Yeah.
safe. It's all good. But he still shouldn't be sneaking out from, 2 a.m. till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Like it was middle of the night. And we both had to kind of summon our anger up to be able to approach it.
Yeah. We had to have a pre-warm up.
A pre-warm up of like, okay,
I'm going to be angry, and this is how we had to act this out. It wasn't coming from a place that, you know,
it wasn't true.
where before it was like we would react that way.
When we say before, we mean with our older children when they've done, sneaking out of the house or doing things that they weren't supposed to be doing. We were reacting so quickly.
Right.
A lot of times there wasn't even a conversation between us.
No.
It was just a reaction of like, this is not what children are supposed to do and stuff. And like, in all honesty, when we sat down to talk to him and we're like, why did you sneak out? You know, he had a friend over. So, you know, first off, did the friend pressure you into doing this? And he's like, no, it was my idea. Okay, well, I can't be mad at you for telling me the absolute truth. And then when he said why he went out. It was to take pictures for a music album that he wanted to take, and he wanted the streets at nighttime with nobody else on them. And then he showed us the pictures that he took, and they were fantastic pictures. They were amazing. And so we didn't really have to approach it with a whole lot of anger in the end. We were kind of in this in-between place going, we're parents. We're supposed to get angry about them sneaking out.
To me, I think it was more of what the expectation was coming from him, right? Or, okay, when you get in trouble, you expect your parents to be mad.
Yeah.
You expect punishment. You expect this, that, and it was very difficult to
well, you even asked him, like, what do you think the disciplinary action should be that we take against you? And he, grounded himself to his room for 3 months and take away his cell phone and...
there was a bunch.
He hit, the most huge punishment that he was giving himself. And our discipline was much smaller. I don't even actually remember what it was.
No, I mean, after
I think he was home from school every day, right after school, no hanging out.
Yeah, after you seen the pictures, you understood. I get it. It's just more of, hey, let's communicate. Let's
there's a safety aspect.
Yeah, you know, an age piece, and they factor with a friend and other parents. There's a whole bunch of different things, but it's like, let's be on the same page, and we can navigate this together. But
yeah, and that's our example of how we grew in our anger throughout many kids. But it was an interesting situation, and actually I guess it was last weekend now, where he was out with his friends again during the day, and he had called me to pick them up because they got caught out in the pouring rain. And the one friend that he had for the sleepover was one of the friends that I was picking up. And I guess prior to me picking him up, he was feeling very anxious because he hasn't seen me since we caught them sneaking out or whatever. And he was afraid that I was going to start yelling at him.
Yeah.
And he gets into the vehicle. First thing he says to me, "I'm so sorry we snuck out of the house." And I was like, "Last night?" And he's like, "No, when we were at the sleepover a couple months ago." And I was like, "Yeah, that was back in October. It's fine." And he was really apologetic. And to me, I just said, you guys are at an age where you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make choices that parents aren't going to agree with. And sometimes you're going to be like, "Oh man, I shouldn't have done that."
Yeah. And
you feel bad for it. And other times you might be thinking, "Gosh, I wish I didn't get caught for that." Both of those things are totally okay. You're 13, So I'm a lot more compassionate towards kids. I'd say that's another part of the healing that I think people don't understand the benefits of, is how much more compassionate towards kids and kid behaviors you can become when you've held that compassion for yourself.
Yeah, I think it doesn't have an age, really. I think because we're all kids inside, right?
Touche.
It's but one thing that did hit me as you were saying that is, here's this child that has this this mark that you're going to be upset after all of these months.
Yeah.
And just think about how many times other people and other things and other discussions and whatnot, and how people and what they're holding on to, right? So he held on to this for months and months and months, and had this expectation that you were gonna be
Start
upset,
screaming at this kid,
and it's like, that wasn't the reality.
It's not the reality.
But it very much was his reality, right? That's what he was carrying, and we all have this. We all have this, this is what happened, and now I can expect the worst. Or
it's like this guilt that we carry, right? And we almost punish ourselves more by holding on to the guilt, not wanting to face the person that we feel guilty towards. But in that, we're actually punishing ourselves so much more than what is needed. Because this kid, he didn't have a need to be afraid of me. I'm like, it wasn't even your idea. It was Odin's idea. Or our child's idea. Yes. I try not to say our kids' names on here just to protect their privacy. But oops.
It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't hold myself guilty for that. Yeah. Anyways, love is a choice, and this week it has felt like an easier choice to be making.
Love is the only choice.
Yeah.
Really, like all the other stuff are just. It is just noise. It is just things, but the approach always has to be, or should be, as best it can be, from a love
Yeah.
mindset, right?
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I do believe a lot of people think they're doing it from a love mindset, right? I love my husband, so I'm going to scream at him every time he leaves his socks on the floor because what I want the most is a clean house, but I'm doing this because I love him.
Yeah, well.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's...
Yeah, lip service versus...
Yes, there has to be a purity within the love, and I think this is where being that observer that we were talking about last week allows you to really go like, what is the most loving thing I can do that maybe isn't serving me? Right? What is the most loving thing that this person needs to hear from me or experience from me, even if it's at the quote-unquote sacrifice of myself, which is really just an ego part of me that wanted to be filled.
Right. And you're at that point, you're making it more about them than you are about you, which is
the loving thing to do.
Loving,
Yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining us here for another episode of The Sacred Exchange. We will be back here again next week. As always, you can like, comment, and subscribe. We're now on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Spotify. So follow us on all of those accounts if you feel resonant with that. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Absolutely.
Have a great day, everyone.
Take care, folks.